Hi, my name is Bijal Shah and I am a bibliotherapist and founder of Bibliotherapy, a bibliotherapy and literary curation practice. I'm also the author of the book Bibliotherapy, The Healing Power of Reading. I curate book prescriptions and provide online training in bibliotherapy. More detail of this can be found on my website, www.bookTherapy.io. In this podcast, I share my knowledge and research on bibliotherapy, including the latest developments, science, and book recommendations. Join me every week where we take a deep dive into bibliotherapy. We release 2 episodes a week. Voice notes from me, your resident bibliotherapist, and Ask the Bibliotherapist, book recommendations for what's on your mind. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you'd like a bibliotherapist in your pocket, you might find my book Bibliotherapy, The Healing Power of Reading, a helpful companion. It's available at any bookstore that you shop at. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and get new episodes as they're released. And as always, I love hearing from listeners. So if you'd like to get in touch, share any book recommendations or thoughts on bibliotherapy, you can do so at bijal@booktherapy.io. Thanks for listening. Welcome back to Bibliotherapy with Bijal Shah. In today's episode, we explore the quiet, transformative power of love stories and how the romance genre can become a profound tool for emotional healing. From the classic worlds of Jane Austen to the modern intimacy of Sally Rooney, and from the wisdom of bell hooks and Erich Fromm to the poetic tenderness of Alain de Botton, we look at how stories of love, in all their beauty and heartbreak, help us understand ourselves through the lens of bibliotherapy. I'll unpack how reading about love can validate our experiences, repair our emotional wounds, and remind us that connection and hope are still possible, even in an age of disconnection. Join me as we discover how reading romance isn't just about escape or pleasure. In every culture and century, stories of love have been among the first and last that people tell. The romance genre, often dismissed as escapist or sentimental, is in fact one of the most powerful vehicles for emotional catharsis, psychological insight, and personal transformation. Within the practice of bibliotherapy, the intentional use of literature for emotional healing, romantic storytelling, occupies a special role. It offers both mirror and medicine, reflecting our most intimate desires and fears, while also guiding readers through emotional repair, self-recognition, and hope. In this voice note, I explore how the romance genre functions as a tool for bibliotherapeutic healing, tracing its psychological and symbolic dimensions. Drawing on examples from fiction and non-fiction, from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice to Sally Rooney's Normal People, from bell hooks' All About Love to Alain de Botton's The Course of Love, I will examine how stories of love, loss, and connection can soothe loneliness, expand empathy, and restore faith in the self and others. I also consider key techniques used in bibliotherapy, including reflective reading, guided discussion, metaphor work, and how romance narratives uniquely engage these processes. Ultimately, I argue that love stories heal because they allow us to rehearse the art of intimacy in imagination and in practice. The first principle of bibliotherapy is recognition, the reader's realization that their own experience has been articulated, understood, and shared by another. When a reader encounters a character's heartbreak, longing, or reconciliation, they find themselves mirrored in that emotional landscape. The act of recognition provides validation. Romantic fiction, by its very nature, is saturated with emotion. It tracks the full arc of desire, from curiosity and hope, through misunderstanding and rupture, to connection or loss. Each stage engages the reader's emotional memory and empathy. In Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, readers witness the evolution of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy's relationship. The novel's enduring bibliotherapeutic appeal lies in its emotional realism, and love emerges not from fantasy, but from transformation. The story models emotional growth, teaching that love is not found but earned, not given but cultivated. Similarly, in Sally Rooney's Normal People, readers encounter two young people struggling to connect in a world that prizes detachment. Rooney's spare prose and emotional precision invites the reader into the interior complexity of modern intimacy, showing how vulnerability, class, and self-worth intersect. For readers dealing with alienation or the anxiety of exposure, Normal People can be a profoundly validating experience. It names the ache of being misunderstood, while also tracing the possibility of healing through recognition. The mirroring process fulfills what the bibliotherapist Caroline Schroeder described as identification leading to catharsis. In identifying with the character, the reader symbolically re-experiences suppressed feelings in a safe context, allowing grief, shame, or yearning to surface and be released. The romance genre, which foregrounds emotional expression, provides an especially fertile field for such catharsis. While recognition validates feeling, rehearsal enables growth. The reader does not merely observe a character's journey, they imaginatively participate in it. This process allows for experimentation and emotional rehearsal. What would it feel like to risk vulnerability again, to forgive, to love after loss? Romantic stories often operate as emotional laboratories, letting readers practice intimacy without real-world consequences. For individuals recovering from heartbreak, betrayal, or loneliness, this imaginative rehearsal can build trust in love's possibility. Consider Jojo Moyes' Me Before You, where Louisa Clark's relationship with Will Traynor teaches her, and the reader, the courage to live fully even after profound loss. The story allows the reader to inhabit both the pain of impermanence and the beauty of connection. Its therapeutic value lies not only in its resolution, but in its invitation to feel deeply, to experience grief as a continuation of love, rather than its negation. Similarly, in The Time Traveller's Wife, love's temporal dislocations mirror the emotional unpredictability of real relationships. Readers navigating uncertainty or long-distance love can find comfort in the narrative's message that love can transcend instability and endure across time's disruptions. These imaginative rehearsals strengthen resilience. Therapists often use stories to guide clients through reflection questions. Which characters' choices mirror your own? What fears or hopes do you recognize in their journey? How might their story offer a model of change or forgiveness? By engaging these questions, the reader turns story into self-inquiry. Love stories thus become safe spaces to practice courage. From a psychological standpoint, romantic narratives also function as relational blueprints. They explore attachment patterns, the way individuals bond, avoid, or repair connection, and can thus help readers understand and reshape their own relational styles. Clients can explore their own emotional reflexes with distance and insight. For instance, in Wuthering Heights, as the destructive passion between Catherine and Heathcliff dramatizes anxious and avoidant attachment, a dance of obsession, abandonment, and longing for union. Discussing this novel can help readers recognize unhealthy styles of dependency or idealization. By contrast, novels like The Rosie Project by Graham Simpson depict love as growth through empathy and flexibility. Don Tillman, a man with rigid routines and social challenges, learns that intimacy demands adaptation. Readers with perfectionistic or avoidant tendencies can externalize this lesson. Love requires surrender to imperfection. Bibliotherapeutically, the romance genre thus becomes an atlas of relational models. From toxic enmeshment to mature interdependence, it allows the reader to map where they are and where they wish to go. While fiction engages emotion through story, non-fiction on love offers conceptual frameworks for understanding and practicing it. In bibliotherapy, pairing romantic fiction with reflective non-fiction can deepen insight and integrate feeling with thought. Erich Fromm's The Art of Loving remains foundational here. Fromm argued that love is not an emotion to fall into, but an art to be learned, demanding discipline, patience, humility, and faith. His typology of love, brotherly, maternal, erotic, self, divine, broadens the reader's understanding beyond romantic idealism. Reading Fromm alongside fiction, for example, Jane Eyre or Normal People, allows the reader to contrast idealized passion with practical love. Bell Hook extends this discussion in All About Love, reframing love as a verb, an active ethic of care, commitment, trust, and respect. For clients who equate love with sentiment, Hook's work reframes it as moral labor and social justice. Her insistence that love and abuse cannot coexist provides therapeutic clarity for those in harmful relationships. Alain de Botton's The Course of Love combines fictional storytelling with philosophical commentary, showing how real love begins after the first romantic ideal fades. He demonstrates that the true challenge is not finding love, but maintaining it through compromise and emotional intelligence. Bibliotherapists may use these texts in combination, fiction to engage emotion, non-fiction to scaffold understanding, and together they create a dialectic of heart and mind, emotion experienced, then analyzed, then transformed. Another central role of the romance genre in bibliotherapy lies in its function as grief recovery. Love stories frequently confront loss of lovers, of innocence, of time. They offer symbolic rituals of mourning and renewal. Nicholas Sparks's novels, such as The Notebook or A Walk to Remember, may seem sentimental, yet their enduring popularity attests to their ritual function. They allow readers to experience the pain of loss in a structured, safe narrative. This is what the psychotherapist Irvin Yalom calls death awareness work, learning to love and let go simultaneously. More literary treatments, such as Call Me by Your Name by Andre Ackerman, provides a deeper exploration of love's impermanence. The novel's bittersweet tone acknowledges that love transforms even when it does not last. For readers processing endings of relationships, life stages, or identities, such stories affirm that transient love still leaves meaning behind. Bibliotherapists working with grief often use reflective exercises. For example, identify a passage where love and loss coexist. Write a letter to the lost one using that passage as a model. Reflect on what remains after loss, what love has taught or changed. Through these exercises, the reader learns to reframe grief as continuity rather than rupture. Love, even when it ends, remains a healing narrative thread. Perhaps the most overlooked function of romantic storytelling is its restoration of hope, a key ingredient in psychological resilience in times of disrepair or disconnection. Romance novels remind readers that connection, though imperfect, remains possible. The romantic comedy in particular functions as light therapy for the psyche. It reawakens playfulness, trust, and optimism. Films and novels like Notting Hill, Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, and A Man Called Ove use humour and tenderness to repair disillusionment. They teach that human connection, romantic or otherwise, can restore meaning. In bibliotherapy, such texts are often prescribed during depressed or anxious periods, when readers need gentle reassurance rather than confrontation. As one client once described after reading Eleanor Oliphant, it made me feel that even broken people can find warmth again. This is the quiet miracle of romance. It keeps the reader's faith in love alive, not as fantasy, but as possibility. Bibliotherapist is both art and technique. The romance genre offers a particularly rich toolkit because it naturally engages the reader's affective, cognitive, and imaginative systems. Below are some common therapeutic techniques using romantic storytelling. Firstly, reflective reading. Clients are encouraged to read slowly, noticing emotional responses. The therapist guides reflection on what resonates, what irritates, what feels familiar. A passage like Darcy's letter to Elizabeth or Cannell's confession in Normal People becomes a mirror for the reader's own relational script. Secondly, guided dialogue. Discussion and script deepen self-awareness. For example, questions to consider are: what patterns of love or avoidance do you feel or do you see? How do you handle misunderstanding, or what kind of love feels safe or unsafe for you? This conversational processing externalizes emotion and allows cognitive reframing. Thirdly, journaling and letter writing. After reading, clients might write letters to a past lover, to the self, or to a fictional character. This writing integrates insight with experience. Fourthly, creative reauthoring. Borrowed from narrative therapy, this technique invites readers to rewrite a story's ending or their own story. After reading a tragic romance, they might imagine an alternative ending, emphasizing growth or healing. This empowers agency over one's own narrative. And lastly, bibliopoetics. In some cases, readers are guided to create poems or fragments inspired by passages of love literature. This aesthetic expression channels emotion into art, transforming pain into creativity. While romance is often framed as dyadic, i.e. between two people, bibliotherapy recognizes that romantic storytelling also models wider forms of love: compassion, forgiveness, friendship, self-acceptance. For instance, Little Women integrates romantic love into a large ethic of sisterhood and vocation. Reading it can heal those struggling to reconcile care for others with self-fulfillment. Similarly, in contemporary works like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, love becomes a lens for identity, authenticity, and forgiveness. Evelyn's complex loves, romantic, platonic, and maternal, challenge binary notions of success and sacrifice. Readers confronting identity conflict or regret can find validation in such nuanced depictions. Non-fictional works extend this expansion of love's meaning. Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings on love and Sharon Salzberg's Real Love both present love as a uniform mindful awareness. For bibliotherapy, these texts offer meditative frameworks to accompany the emotional work of reading fiction. Thus, romantic storytelling heals not only heartbreak, but the larger fragmentation of the self, teaching that love in its many forms is the connective tissue of human life. It's important, however, to acknowledge the ambivalence of romance in therapy. Unrealistic depictions of love, common in formulaic romance fiction, can reinforce harmful myths that love completes the self, that suffering guarantees reward, that partners should intuit each other's needs. Bibliotherapists must therefore help readers differentiate fantasy from aspiration. The therapists may ask, what parts of this story feels authentic? What ideals does it promote that might be limiting? How can you translate its emotional truth without adopting its illusion? Such guided reading transforms potential escapism into insight. Even sentimental stories can become healing when read with awareness. And finally, romance literature at its best does what all great therapy does. It teaches us to attend to ourselves, to others, to the fragile miracle of connection. It asks us to risk empathy, to see another fully, and to be seen in return. In bibliotherapy, reading a love story becomes a rehearsal for real intimacy. It allows the readers to explore the paradox of love, that it both wounds and heals, confines and liberates. Fiction provides the emotional stage on which we practice that paradox safely. Whether through the quiet courage of Elizabeth Bennet, the raw honesty of Marianne and Cornell, the compassionate wisdom of bell hooks and Fromm, the romance genre teaches that love in all its imperfect forms is still worth everything. And perhaps that is the final therapeutic lesson. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you'd like to sign up to our online courses or try a personalised book prescription or bibliotherapy session, you can do so following the links in the show notes. And as always, I love hearing from listeners, so don't hesitate to drop me an email at bijal@booktherapy.io.